Last year, North Carolina Republicans suffered a major defeat. They lost essentially every statewide race, including the governor's. The only race that they won was the presidency, of course, for Donald Trump, but also the state auditor's race for the Republicans. So on their way out the door, what state legislators did in the Republican majority, while they still had it in the state legislature, is they passed a bill essentially called Hurricane Relief Bill. And what they did essentially was disguise authoritarian powers in this Hurricane Relief Bill to essentially make it look like that's what they were doing to fix the hurricane relief situation in the state as it was just impacted by Hurricane Helene. What they were actually doing is making a power grab for Republicans to limit the Democrats' essential, big win for the next year in terms of them being able to actually be able to get things done. And so today we are starting to get that. A Republican-controlled North Carolina Supreme Court has blocked the certification of Democrats essentially as the winner of the close high court race. Now, of course, what this order essentially does is allows the state Supreme Court to hear a challenge by the Republican candidate in this race, who is just trailing by just 374 votes, to have 60,000 ballots thrown out. When people tell you to vote and it's important, this is why. This race is trailing by just 734 votes. So let's say if 734 more people came out to vote, or even just more than that, we would not be having this conversation. But Republicans are looking at that as a gateway to overthrow the free and fair election of a Democrat who was elected to the high court to install their Republican friends. This is how it reads from NBC News, quote, "The North Carolina Supreme Court issued an order Tuesday that blocked state officials from certifying the Democratic candidate as the winner of a razor-thin race for the state's high court. In a 5-1 vote, all of the Republicans on the state Supreme Court ruled to prevent the North Carolina State Board of Elections from certifying the election results of her race, where Democrat Justice Allison Riggs holds a 734 lead over Republican Jefferson Griffin. Riggs recused herself from Tuesday's order. The decision by the court that Griffin is seeking to join and that Riggs is seeking to remain on allows the justices to now hear a challenge from Griffin that seeks to throw out 60,000 votes cast in November. The order vowed to address the issue expeditiously and outlined schedule that essentially sets a deadline for all briefs in the case to be filed by January 24th. So she won the election, but because Republicans did this new major power grab last year before they were kicked out of the state legislature, this is happening. Yes, Democrats won statewide, but they put the power of elections in the control of the only Republican statewide seat they won, and that is the state auditor. But it's not just that, because what they've also done is made it easier for Republicans to win in the state of North Carolina, to limit Democrats' ability to actually get things done, and to make it harder for this law to actually be repealed or investigated, because the Democratic Attorney General of the state cannot investigate that. Pursuant to this law, the Democratic Attorney General cannot investigate that. Yes, it was vetoed by the Democratic governor last year, but then it was overridden in the state legislature by Republicans, making this officially law. And the sad fact is that many people probably have no clue what this bill was, because the Republicans disguised it as hurricane relief. So many people just think, oh, it's hurricane relief, not an authoritarian power grab that's going to directly affect their lives, because that's what Republican politicians do. Follow here on the Jeremiah Patterson Show for more independent news. I give you updates on all things news, politics, and history. This story is just bizarre.